Hey, good morning everyone. This is Harry from Hasper TV back with another match review. It's coming out in the morning after the Arsenal game. As you can tell, I'm tired, I've lost my voice. But yeah, Spurs lost at home 3-2 to Arsenal, which on reflection might seem like it was a very close game, but let's just get into it. So, Davies came into the side because Udogie's been ruled out for the season, which I hate to see this as well, but it's very predictable from Ange that he'll do this. Kulusevski came back into the side on the right-hand side, and he's probably one of the only players I think today could have already held his hands up in terms of like a good performance, to his credit. And Højbjerg came in the side with Bentancur and Maddison, and that was a midfield three. And on the face of it, that's something I'd praise Ange for, because I think Bissouma's been poor and Højbjerg, I think, deserves a start. And in this sort of game, maybe Højbjerg will get more than Bissouma. But yeah, that's how it started. And the first 10-15 minutes, it seemed quite even. I think Arsenal kind of, I don't know if anyone noticed this in the first minute, but Partey kind of dropped, because I think they kind of expected us to come up fast. And we did sort of come up fast. Not that we created any chances, but we did come up fast. Kulusevski, like I mentioned earlier, probably our best player today, kind of could put a lot of pressure on the defence. Son, to me, I know he scored the penalty later on, but I don't think he did anything. And Werner, like I alluded to in Spurs Kings TV earlier this week, which is actually Friday now, I don't think Werner has the bottle for these sorts of games, and I kind of showed in the first half. I didn't think he had the aggression. He had too much of a nice guy, really, if I'm being honest. Midfield three, seen the first, like I said, 10-15 minutes that it was kind of working. Now, let's talk about the back line. You'd think in a game like today, Ange might switch and say, look, play a bit longer. Don't try and play out the back, because we'll get caught, especially with Arsenal leaving Saka, Trossard and Havertz very high. I didn't see Saka drop back that much in the first half, and maybe later on in the game he did, but it didn't seem like it was a tactic. And he just left Saka on Davies. If you notice in the first half also, Raya was trying to play long balls to Saka, or trying to lay it off to the centre half to try and find Saka, because he was literally left one-on-one with Davies every time, which kind of coincided with later on Saka scoring his goal. And it seemed like it was always on. They were Arsenal tend to actually attack on the right-hand side. If you notice in the previous few games, if Andrew was watching the previous few games, they go through Saka most of the time, because Trossard tends to come in field. He's not as, he's not like I won't say Trossard's an out-and-out winger. He's kind of like a bit of both, in the mould of like, the old Rosicki's of Arsenal. They could play wide, but they weren't exactly wingers, but they could kind of tricky enough to do a job there. But Saka, for me, was always going to be that out ball anyway. And I think Arteta noticed that, obviously, we played Davies there, which was an absolutely diabolical decision. And some people may say, oh, these don't have many options. But if you watch my preview, I said I would have played five at the back. I would have doubled up on Saka. I would have played either Davies with Van der Ven on that side, because Van der Ven saved us loads of times today, but with the extra protection. And then you have Dragusin with Porro, at least extra protection on that side. And then you could even play Kulusevski in the midfield in that scenario if you want so insistent on playing Kulusevski and Maddison. I think Maddison today was poor as well. But Højbjerg, on the face of it, seemed like a good choice there. And like I said, the first 15-20 minutes I thought was quite even in the midfield. But then, like I mentioned earlier, the passing around the back, which, if you notice, Arsenal weren't really doing that as much as us. And I think Raya went long a lot compared to Vicario, who seemed to be insistent, whether it's tactical or, because it seems like it is tactical at this point, playing it out the back, playing it back. And it resulted in us giving away a chance. Arsenal sniffed us out, and it gave us a corner. And lo and behold, they got the goal from there. And Højbjerg, and I'm not going to completely blame him for this, because I don't think he even knew where he was, but the goal was coming. They just picked us off. And then the next one happened. The Saka one, like I mentioned earlier, left one-on-one with Davies, and there was only going to be one result eventually. With the goal, we cut in, which is the thing you don't let Saka do. I did mention in my preview that even though he's been kind of off form, these sorts of games, he tends to do well. And then Havertz, which I kind of put nailed on to score for them because of the amount of stick I've given him all the season, and again from another set piece. So again, what is the problem? Set pieces, open, it was literally a repeat of the Newcastle game, except we were at home. So we had, in the first half, 70% possession. I think Arsenal had more shots on target than us, or goals as well. And we had just less shots and less goals. I mean, and you'd think with 70% possession would do more. But we just didn't seem to shoot. There were instances in the first half where we should have shot with Son, who I thought, even though he had a massive chance in the first half to score, I think, left 1-on-1. I know the defender was slightly close to him, and he didn't take it. And this is what I mean. Son today was really, really, really poor. I think when he got moved later in the second half, which I'll talk about in a minute, he really struggled on the left as well as in the middle. And Gabriel and Saliba bullied him, which kind of was expected to happen, which is why I was calling for Richarlison to play up front. And at least, and I would have played 3-5-2, like I said, with Richarlison and Son up front, to at least double up on them. And then maybe it will cause them to, it would ask Arsenal another question. But Ange didn't do it. He's stubborn. He sticks with a 4-3-3. Nothing different. Maddison again was poor, like I said. I thought Bentancur was all right in the first half, but he did come off. So in the first half, we're 3-0 down. He did take Bentancur off for Sarr. And I know Sarr did play well in the second half. There's nothing against him. But I thought Bentancur was probably one of our better players in the first half. I would have taken off Maddison straight away. I would have raked him off. I know Werner came off eventually for Johnson because of his injury and his knock. So that was kind of forced. But even that forced scenario, I would have put on Richarlison for Werner. I don't think Werner had it. Okay, through some sort of gift, Spurs got back in the game, make it 3-1. Raya passed it straight to Romero, and thankfully he scored. And then Spurs got a penalty in the 87th minute, which did set up a, grandstand finish, however people want to phrase it nowadays. But Arsenal held on. Again, passing. We don't go long, we're not direct. And Arsenal, I felt, even though it was 3-2, even though we got 2 goals back in I felt they were comfortable. I didn't feel like we even saw the best of Arsenal today, which kind of makes me sad. In the sense that, not sad for Spurs, but in the sense that we didn't really give them a game. I know people might argue it's 3-2, but I'm sorry, we didn't give them a game. And Ange, again, I thought it was easy for Arsenal. They just sat back. If you notice Arteta on the touchline, he was telling to sit, he was telling Raya to waste the time, which is kind of understandable when you're 2-3-0 up away to your rivals. And I would have urged Spurs to do the same in the Emirates if we were 2-3-0 up. And just waste as much time as possible, take your time, make them frustrated, and this is what happened to us. But Ange, I'm sorry, mate, but this is on you. I mean, on paper, we have a better defence than we had last season. Van de Ven has basically become our sweeper. You could argue if that's the right word. He's literally saved our arse today 3-4 times. And yeah, they exploit our obvious weakness of Dogie missing and Ben Davies there. And I'm sure, and they were literally, I was literally directing them to do that, to pass the ball to Saka, because left the 1-on-1 with Davies, there's only going to be one result. And I just think it's like Ange didn't watch any of the Villa game. And Villa beat Arsenal a few weeks ago and think, oh, you know what, Villa played this way. Let's try and do something similar at least compared to them. But he just doesn't want to change it. Doesn't want to do anything. And this is why I give credit for Emery. And I know Villa drew to Chelsea yesterday and it could easily be 3-2, but you just take into consideration that Villa have Europe as well. So on paper, Spurs actually have the advantage in the top 4 race. But we didn't take it, and we got Chelsea away on Thursday. And like I just mentioned Chelsea just now, I think there'll be a bit of momentum with them with Poch, and it's at Stamford Bridge. We never get anything there, and then Liverpool's straight after that. And I know they have nothing to play for. We never get anything out of it. But yeah, a derby defeat. I did predict we'd lose 3-1. So 3-2, you could argue, is slightly better, but one of them was a gift. One of the goals was a gift. But yeah, and if you don't fix up, your time is ticking, mate. I'm sorry. Just not good enough. It was pathetic in the first half. Absolutely pathetic. And I think it's actually disgraceful. Those players should feel ashamed. He should be ashamed, because I kind of think he set them up to fail in some ways. And yeah, I mean, Arsenal a season ahead of us, some people say, but to bridge that gap, It's going to need a lot of investment. I'm talking like 3 or 4 elite players to maybe make a scratch on them. And yeah, it's going to be a long last 5 games. But I just hope we lose to City, because that's, I think, the only way Arsenal are not going to win the title. And come on, you Spurs.